Good morning, good day, and good evening. Welcome to East Bay Insiders TV. I'm Steve Tavares. Transit agencies in the Bay Area have steadily increased ridership since the pandemic, but a fiscal cliff is still right there. With me today to sort out this problem and find some solutions is one of the up-and-coming politicians in East Bay politics, BART Board Director for District 7, Victor Flores. Welcome, Victor.
Hey, Steve, thanks for the invitation. I'm happy to join you and talk about all the struggles, not just BART, but the rest of our transit agencies in the region are facing.
Exactly. I saw you speak at the Oakland City Council about Senate Bill 63, and I was like, we got to get Victor. And you know, I covered you in your race last year, and I do think you're somebody that we should be paying attention to. So that's why you're here. So I want to start out. So let's start with BART. So just tell the viewers what has been done to shore up the finances since the pandemic, and what is needed.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been a lot of work. Since the pandemic, BART has had essentially a structural deficit. Before the pandemic, we were actually one of the best at getting the majority of our operating dollars from the fare box. About 71% of our budget all came from fare box. So that was the gold standard right there. But of course, with the pandemic, with folks shifting to working from home, we started to see a decrease in our ridership, which also meant a decrease in our budget. And the only thing that's been keeping us afloat is some of the emergency federal dollars that came through, and also some state funding from SB 125. This year, we actually started off with about a $70 million deficit, but with some belt tightening and with the remainder of the SB 125 dollars and some other efficiencies, we were able to approve a balanced budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Now, the thing that SB 63 is trying to address is the ongoing problems that are going to continue for the foreseeable future. Just looking at the next fiscal year, we're looking at about $300 to $400 million in deficit. And to give you some context for BART's budget, our operating budget is about $1.2 billion. So about a little bit more than a third of our budget is not being made up by the lost fare. So SB 63 would help to address that.
So SB 63, that would be possible if that gets through the legislature. That would just allow the region to put a ballot measure, a sales tax measure on November 26th ballot. It's a long way from that time. Get passed, probably will pass, and get on the ballot and have a campaign. How do you feel about its chances, though? Still, granted, long time from election day if it happens. Yeah. But any feel right now?
Yeah, I'll say on the legislative side of things, I'm pretty optimistic. We have two big champions in the legislature carrying this bill. So the co-principal authors are Senator Wiener in San Francisco and our new Senator Adeguin in the East Bay. So they've been championing this bill, and I think that they are, putting in the work that it takes with all the stakeholders to make sure that everyone is comfortable getting things passed with all of the different legislators across the Bay Area. So the whole Bay Area caucus has their own needs for transportation, and these two senators have really been doing, I would say, the Lord's work to make sure that they can get this across the finish line.
Now, going forward here, is there any other ways that BART could increase revenues?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, one of the things that I ran on was making sure that BART would utilize all of its assets to make sure that it increases its own revenue, because the reality is, whether we get this passed or in worst case scenario, we don't, the reality is we have to continue to become self-sufficient. And there's a couple ways that we can do that. One is making sure we get riders back taking transit. not just for work, but actually for other recreational leisure activities. Interestingly enough, our biggest increase to return back to normal has actually been in the evening and on the weekends. So that's where we're seeing the strongest amount of growth, or that return to normalcy, which tells me that there is still a huge pent-up demand to utilize our service. To make sure that we get some of those riders back, we need to make sure that it's safe, clean, reliable. So we've been investing in increasing our deep cleans, increasing presence of not just our police officers, but our unarmed ambassadors as well. But the reality is that is not enough. And the good thing is there's already models of other transit systems that use their own assets to get more revenue. And one of the things that I've been pushing is this concept called rail plus property. I think Hong Kong is really the gold standard, but Japanese transit agencies, which are private, also do this. And they're not just private, they actually have a return on investment to their investors. So what does that mean? That means that basically, instead of just leasing out the land the way that BART does, they actually co-invest into those properties. Sometimes they develop it themselves. Sometimes they go in as a development partner with some of those private developers. But what it means is that they have an ownership stake in the commercial housing and retail that occurs at their stations. And typically the way they do this, they go buy the land before they build a station. So they get those greenfield low prices, and then they build up because they know that transportation hub is coming. And then you have all these, not just the riders, but the people that live there. So you essentially have this transit-oriented community that's there, that's self-sufficient. And then on top of that, you also bring in jobs and residents that help to boost that up. So I think BART could do that. Most of the development that is happening is kind of centered around our transit stations right now. And we still have some work to do to make sure we finalize some of the projects that are on that, are in progress. So like Merritt Station, West Oakland, right? And now we have a development team selected for Ashby. North Berkeley's next. But it's a challenging development environment right now. And if we can solve the issue of financing our own development and construction costs, building housing, increasing job opportunities, I mean, that just solves so many problems. And I think that is not just a benefit for BART, but for all of the cities where we have our stations.
You know, real quick, how much does it hurt BART to have the Coliseum, have far less events than it ever had, like at the, when in terms of revenue? Is that a big hit, or is that, obviously it's a hit, but is it a major hit to the bottom line?
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers, but it definitely was better when we had those special events. I mean, you look at ridership from, I think maybe was it June, we had the No Kings Day protest, we had Pride. Those basically were like weekday numbers on a weekend, and that actually helped to increase our ridership levels and kind of mitigate some of the losses that we had over some issues with the system, where we weren't able to capture some of the payments. So those two events by themselves, so just imagine, right? Multiple A's games, Warriors games, the Raiders, all those things do add up.
So when you interview somebody, you leave the tough question to the end. And the idea is, because if you say it at the beginning, they might leave and you won't get anything. You won't have a story. So here's the big question now.
Okay.
On the BART trains, do the trains, when they enter the station, do they go beep, beep, or boop, boop? Your thoughts?
Okay. I think this might be controversial, but the way I hear it, it's more of a boop, boop than a beep, beep.
Thank you. It is boop, boop. And some of your colleagues say it's beep, beep. I'm like, do you take BART?
Well, look, I'll tell you this. The reason I have come to this conclusion is because I got that holiday sweater with the sound card, and I took it out, but it would fall down from the drawers or wherever I would have it, and it would be boop, boop all the time.
There you have it. That is evidence right there.
Yeah.
Well, Victor Flores, he represents the BART board in District 7, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate you sharing this information. It's one of those hot topics, and I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, you'll invite me back on.
Yeah, and surely in the next year or 14, 15 months, we're definitely going to be talking about this again.
Yeah.
Thank you. And everybody else, thank you for watching. And don't forget, you could subscribe to the East Bay Insiders newsletter at eastbayinsiders.substack.com and look for the podcast returns on Friday. Thank you.